Hello friends, welcome to our channel. In this video, we will see how to integrate Spring Boot plugin with Eclipse. If you don't have Eclipse, then please download, link is available in the description. If you don't want to do like this, then download Spring IDE that comes with the default. Download link is available in the description. Let's add Spring Boot plugin. Click on Help menu, then Eclipse Marketplace. Then search for Spring. Click on Install. Click on Confirm button. Accept the agreement. Click on Finish. After complete, it will ask for restart. Click on Yes. As you can see, the welcome page is different now. Spring IDE options is there. Let's create a new project. See, Spring option is there. Expand that. Select Spring Starter Project. Click on Next. The name you can change if you want to. Click on Next. As you can see, there are so many options are there. Forget about all this point of time. Just click on Finish. The good thing about Spring Boot is you don't need to set up much. Let's first run using main methods like run as Java application. See, it runs successfully, no error. It's a default project, so not much log. Now let's run using Spring Boot app. See, log is same. You can run your application anyway.
In this video, we will see what is Spring Boot. Spring Boot uses completely new development model to make Java development very easy by avoiding some tedious development steps and boilerplate code and configuration. Spring Boot is a framework from the Spring team to ease the bootstrapping and development of new Spring application. Spring Boot makes it easy to create standalone, production-grade Spring-based applications that you can just run. We take an opinionated view of the Spring platform and third-party libraries. You can get started with minimum fuss. Most Spring Boot applications need very little Spring configuration. Spring Boot framework is auto dependency resolution, auto configuration management 10 points. Embedded HTTP servers, Tomcat, Jetty and Spring Boot CLI. Advantages of Spring Boot: absolutely no code generation and no requirement for XML, not and even web.xml configuration. Provide production-ready features such as metrics, health checks, and externalized configuration. Automatically configure Spring whenever possible. Embed Tomcat, Jetty or Undertow directly, so no need to deploy a WAR file. Provide opinionated starter POMs to simplify your Maven configuration. Simplifies your Spring dependencies, no more version collisions. Avoid to add a lot of dependencies using Spring Boot Starter. Weebit will skip a lot of dependencies. Read configuration from application.properties file. Easy to integrate security and data. Let's implement. Let's first create a new Spring project. You can select packing from jar to WAR or WAR to jar, can change Java version. Enter the package whatever you want. This time it's a web application, so check Web Check, and click on Finish. Let's run and see it's working fine or not. See, server started. Let's see what are the things pom.xml includes by default. Servlet initializer class created because we select packaging as the WAR file. Instead of default name, let's change it to application. Initially, application properties file is empty. Here you can put your required configuration. Let's say I want to change server ports, so I can put whatever I want. There are so many properties. Let's add context path also, so when application run, it will open as localhost 9090 Spring Boot. Let's create one simple controller so when application run, and when we open it should show some message, so we are going to add the simple code. Let's restart. It started. Let's open in browser. See, the message is coming. But if add some changes in a message, it will reflect or not just after refresh. See, it's not showing changes. For that, we need to add something else. Let's see what is that. What is DevTools in Spring Boot? Spring Boot 1.3 will ship with a brand new module called Spring Boot DevTools. The aim of the module is to try and improve the development time experience when working on Spring Boot applications. Once you added Spring Boot DevTools as a Maven dependency in pom.xml, after that no need to restart server every time whenever code changes happen, so it will do an automatic restart. So here is the dependency. Let's check Maven dependency. See, when you open Spring documentation page, there you can see the dependency. Let's copy and put it in pom.xml file. See, after adding dependency and when it's downloaded, DevTools you can see along with the project name in the Project Explorer. Let's restart and see it's working or not. See, as I save my changes, automatic restart happens. And see, changes are showing. What is an actuator in Spring Boot? Spring Boot Actuator includes a number of additional features to help you monitor and manage your application when it pushed to production. You can choose to manage and monitor your application using HTTP endpoints, with JMX, or even by a remote shell SSH or Telnet. Actuator endpoints allow you to monitor and interact with your application. Spring Boot includes a number of built-in endpoints, and you can also add your own. To enable Actuator, need to add a Spring Boot Starter Actuator dependency in pom.xml file. Once you add it, then you can monitor some of the things like health, metrics, heap dump, info, dump, config props, trace, environment, beans, mappings, auto-config using the actuator. Output comes as JSON. Let's check Maven dependency for an actuator. See, for that also documentations are available. So let's copy and put it on pom.xml file. Let's restart and see we can monitor all those things or not. As you can see, after adding dependency, all are the things which we can monitor that comes inside the log. Let's check for all output is coming or not. See, it's coming. Oops, it's giving some security issue. So let's make it false from application properties file. See, everything is coming. That's the beauty of Spring Boot. Now whichever we can monitor for all those who need to do some exercises. Let's see whatever we added. In this video we will see how to integrate Spring Data API with Spring Boot. Let's implement. Before start anything, let's run and see everything is working fine or not. See, it's working fine. Let's check. If add something after the URL, then what will happen? See, the error is coming. Let's first handle error page, so instead of the default, customized page or message should come. Let's create one more controller called index controller. So there is an interface is available to handle this type of situation, so that interface name is error controller. This time we just add a message like no mapping available. Let's run and see instead of default one no mapping available message coming or not. See, the message is coming, so anything you add after default URL or anything invalid, then the error message will come. Now let's add some database related operations. For handle database related stuff, need to add data API Maven dependency. Let's copy and paste it into pom.xml file. This time we are using MySQL, so needs Maven dependency for MySQL. Same way if you want to use some other database like Oracle or PostgreSQL, let's copy and paste it into pom.xml file. So as you can see now, Hibernate related XML configuration file is required. Only you need to add some configuration in application properties file. I hope you know what other properties are required for making a database connection, like URL, driver class, username, password. and along with that need to add some of the JPA-related properties. Let's create some of the model class. Just to make it simple, we'll create a class called user. We are using an abstract persistable class, so no need to add primary key, no need to add an annotation for each and every field, and one good thing, it automatically adds underscore for capitalized string. Create the database like the name we have given an application properties file. Now let's run and see everything is working fine or not, and the database table is creating or not. See table created. And column name also separated by an underscore. Let's add some dummy data in user table, so for that we will create some insert query and put it in data.sql file. And add a data.sql path in properties file, so when the application starts then automatically execute insert query. So as you can see, data.sql executed and inserted 2 records in the user table. The same way you can create multiple insert script. We want to execute data.sql file only once, so let's comment that line. Let's create an MVC flow to perform basic flow of data. So we created a model class for user, so same way we will create controller, service, and repository also. As you know that if you are using Spring MVC, then to perform basic CRUD operations you need to do so many things, but in Spring Boot all can perform by creating one interface for particular model. And Spring Boot provides so many repositories like CRUD repository, JPA repository, paging and sorting repository. Let's see how to use JPA repository. The code is very simple. Better go with constructor injection, so no need to put tired annotation again and again. Let's run and see user list is coming or not. Get inserted again even after comment so that can say only you need to create the file and keep it in the resources folder. That's okay. Let's check user list is coming or not. See it working. As you can see, select query is there because we made it show SQL true in one of JPA property in application properties file. Let's review whatever we added. In this video we will see how to implement CRUD operations in Spring Boot. Let's implement. Before the start, let's run and see everything is working fine or not. Service started. Let's open a browser and check whatever we added to last video it's working or not. See user list is coming, so it's working fine. Let's implement CRUD operations like create, retrieve, update and delete. So basically we are going to modify service and controller class. The code is very simple and self-explainable, so I don't think so need to explain each and every line. As you saw in the last video, we retrieve only user list with the help of user repository, same way we can perform add, update, delete also. That's it. Let's run and see whatever code we added to perform remaining operations it's working fine or not. As you can see in console log, all required URL is coming. So read is working anyhow, that we already covered in the last video. Let's see find the respected record using particular it is working or not. So it's working. We can't test save or update using a browser because we need to send user object as a request, so download REST client or Postman application to test remaining REST services. So create is working. As you can see, insert query in the console log. Let's check in a database also. See record created. Let's test for one more user. The same way we can test for the update also, only you need to add it in JSON request. See, an update is working. As you can see in database password value changed, and in console log update query is there. As you can see, just one code can perform both the operations. Let's check delete is working or not. See delete also working. Let's review whatever we added till now. As you can see, everything is very simple. In this video we will see how to implement one-to-many relationship Spring Boot. Let's implement. First, let's create one more model so we can implement one-to-many relationships. To make it simple, let's give model name address. We will extend abstract persistable so it helps not to write so many JPA-related annotations, so this class takes care automatically, and change column name separated with an underscore. To implement relationship between tables, one table contains many-to-one and other contains one-to-many relationships. As you know that one user can have multiple addresses, so address class maintain many-to-one relationship. So one annotation in many-to-one, and other is joint column, so this column mapped to a user class. So like this we need to add one more field in user class, and this field return type should be a collection. So for addresses field we'll use only one annotation, one-to-many, and need to pass for value. First is target entity, means this class mapped to which class. Second is mapped by, so this will take field name which we declared in other class and mark it with many-to-one annotation. Third is fetch type, so fetch types are two, lazy and eager. So lazy means it will fetch records from child table only when is required, and eager means it will already fetch data from the child table. Fourth is cascade, so here we make it all. Actually, there are 5 types of cascade, like detach, merge, persist, refresh, remove. So what are they? That your exercise you need to find out. We will see how other fetch types and cascade type work at the end of the video. Let's run and see address table is creating or not, and adding the relationship with user and address or not. As you can see in log2 query for address table, one is created statement and other alter statement. Service started. Let's check the database. Let's add some dummy data in address table so that will help when we write code to fetch address list. So for this time stop the server, and add CRUD operation code to an address. To make it simple we will create new classes for address. So if you haven't watched the previous video then this will cover, and if already watched then this is for revision. We will put auto-wired annotation at constructor level. If you want you can put field level annotation also. So let's start with the simple one. Find the list of address. Let's run and see address list is coming or not. See it's coming. It contains user object also. Let's add code to find the particular address, insert, update and delete. Let's run and see everything is working fine or not. Let's add one more record in address table so can differentiate when we call to find one service. The list is working. Find one is working. Delete is working fine. To test add and update we need to send JSON request, so let's open REST client. So as you know we can't send an object in JSON request, so it won't work directly, so for that need to add something extra. Let's see what is that. So for that let's add one transient field for user ID. But before save address in a database we need to convert user ID to user object, so need to modify some more code. So before saving let's update address object, get user object from user id and set user for address object. It's very simple, let's check it's working fine or not. See, insert is working. Let's try again and add one more address. See, insert is working. Let's check update will work or not, with the help of same code. See, and update is also working fine. As I said before ending the video, we will see a practical demo of how fetch and cascade works. Let's check first what is the difference between fetch type lazy and eager. Let's run again. First fetch user list. So when fetch type is lazy, you can see only one query is executing. Let's copy the query in Notepad so it's easy to see the difference. Now let's change to eager. Hit the same URL. Let's check the console. How many queries executed? Oops, 3 query. I hope you got some idea. So to perform the same thing it's executing 3 query, so along with user getting the address as well. So this will affect our performance also. So to make sure that keep eager only when it's really required. And for cascade, I already said that is your exercise. Let's review whatever we added. As you can see, with the help of very small change we implement one-to-many relationships in Spring Boot. That's the beauty of Spring Boot. Let's run again and see how delete works for the user. We make it cascade type all when I delete the user, then along with that address also deleted. Video we will see how to integrate aspect-oriented programming with Spring Boot. So before anything, let's see what is aspect-oriented programming. One of the key components of Spring Framework is the Aspect-Oriented Programming Framework. Aspect-oriented programming entails breaking down program logic into distinct parts called so-called concerns. The functions that span multiple points of an application are called cross-cutting concerns, and these cross-cutting concerns are conceptually separate from the application's business logic. There are various common good examples of aspects like logging, auditing, declarative transactions, security, caching, etc. Aspect-oriented programming terminologies: aspect, join point, advice, point cut. What are those that you need to find out? In this video, we will see how to implement logging feature in Spring Boot using aspect-oriented programming. Let's implement. Before starting anything, let's run and see is everything working fine or not. It's working fine, but there is no log available. Let's see how to implement logging feature using aspect. For example's requirement is something like, there is huge product, thousands of classes and lots of methods. Then what is the most feasible way to implement logging with touching the existing code? So the answer is aspect-oriented programming. Let's create the separate package for aspect, so you can keep your aspect class inside this package. We are going to implement logging feature, then to make it simple, class name is logger aspect. We need to annotate this class as an aspect and component. As you can see, we have not added any third-party dependency for logger. We will create a method and annotate with the point cut. And we will pass package structure where we want to implement logging functionality. So here star represent any text and dot represent all the methods with any number of parameters. Now we will create one generalized method which will print info log. And annotate with before advice, means before calling any method that will print the log. That's it. Let's run and see it's working or not. As you can see, log is coming for controller and service class list method. Same way it will come for all. Let's see how to add exception log. So whenever any exception comes, instead of breaking the application, it should handle and print exception message. So like before, there is another advice after throwing. Let's review whatever we added. As you can see, there is no XML configuration, no additional Maven dependency is required. In this video we will see how to integrate Job Scheduler with Spring Boot. So before anything, let's see what is Job Scheduler. Let's implement. Before start anything, let's run and see everything is working fine or not. See everything is working fine. Let's see how to add Job Scheduler in Spring Boot. Let's create the separate package. Initially we'll implement simple functionality, then add some service-related call. Let's create a separate package called Scheduler. And to make it simple, class name could be the Job Scheduler. We need to annotation this class as a component. Adding blank method anyhow log will come from logger aspect class. Every method which we are going to add in this class should be annotated with scheduled. Let's create first method schedule using rate. So here fixed rate makes Spring run the task at periodic intervals even if the last invocation may be still running, so doesn't wait for the completion of the previous execution. Let's create second method schedule using delay. Fixed delay specifically controls the next task execution time when the last execution finishes, so the duration between the end of last execution and the start of next execution is fixed. The task always waits until the previous one is finished. Let's create third method schedule using fixed delay with initial delay. The task will be executed a first time after the initial delay value, and it will continue to be executed according to a fixed delay. Let's create fourth method schedule using CRUD expression. Task execution depends on CRUD expression. In other three cases we are just scheduling with no complicated condition like every day or month or any specific time. So CRUD expression gives us a flexibility to a scheduler, so schedule whatever time you want. So this CRUD expression for 5 milliseconds, so like that you can create any time period CRUD expression. Let's run and see task is executing or not. See, it's working, tasks are executing automatically. See, it's very simple. Let's see what is the scheduled annotation. Let's read it. What description Java document added? An annotation that makes a method to be scheduled. Exactly one of the CRUD, fixed delay or fixed rate attributes must be specified. The annotated method must expect no argument. It will typically have a void return type. If not, the returned value will be ignored when called to the scheduler. Processing of scheduled annotations is performed by registering a scheduled annotation being post-processor. This can be done manually or more conveniently through the task annotation driven element or enable scheduling annotation. Let's see what is the documentation is there for CRUD. A CRUD like the expression, extending the usual Unix definition to include trigger on the second as well as minute, hour, the day of a month, month and day of the week. As you can see the CRUD example. Fixed delay. executed the annotated method with the fixed period in milliseconds between the end of the last invocation and the start of the next. Initial delay. Number of milliseconds to delay before the first execution of a fixed rate or fixed delay task. Fixed rate. Execute the annotated method for a fixed period in milliseconds between invocations. Let's add some service-related call. Let's create user service reference. And let's call user service method from schedule methods. Let's run and see service call is going or not. See it's working. See how easy it is to add task or job scheduler in Spring Boot. Let's review whatever we added. In this video we will see how to implement manual job with Spring Boot using Spring Batch. In last video we have seen how to implement job scheduler. If you have not watched, then please watch it. So this video is for special purpose, like instead of automatically I want to trigger a job manually or on demand, then this will help. So first thing I will clear why that job is required. So for example, in some scenario then execution process needs a lot of time, like I want to upload hundreds of files or send email to thousands of employees. So such kind of cases execution takes more time. So instead of normal call we create a cron job, so that job will take care of this. I hope now you know the purpose of job. It's easy, only you need to follow certain things. I'm sure you want to get easily. Let's implement and see what are the things required to configure a manual job. Whatever code we added till now, it's available in GitHub. So let's download code from Git. Extract it and add it to Spring source. Let's do some cleanup activity. So let's remove some unwanted code from POM XML. Let's change artifacted from demo to Spring Boot. No test cases, so remove test dependency. Remove Scala dependency and remove all repository related stuff. Delete test folder for this point of time. delete project and import again. As you can see, after changing artifact, the project name changed. Let's add Spring Batch dependency. So in Spring Boot, naming convention is enough to identify, no need for version. Let's copy one of the dependency and change artifact id. See, downloading starts for Spring Batch. Let's add some batch related configuration in application properties files. Auto configuration for Spring Batch. By default, a runner will be created and all jobs in the context will be executed on startup. So for disable, this behavior makes it false job enabled property. Only one configuration is enough. Now let's enable batch processing at an application level. So here entry point is application.java class. So add required annotation, enable Spring Batch features and provide a base configuration for setting up batch jobs in a configuration class, roughly equivalent to using the batch XML namespace. Let's create the separate package to keep batch-related stuff. The package name is tasklet and the class name is batch tasklet, and this class must be implemented tasklet interface. So now we need to override execute method. Let's mark this class as a service. Let's create one more package to keep all configuration related stuff. This time we keep only batch config class. Using Actuator capable bean factory class just to demo how that works. Instead of that, can also use directly Actuator. Let's create one method to configure tasklet. Let's create one more method to configure step using step builder factory, and that will help to execute config tasklet method. Mark this method as a bean. Let's create one more method to configure job using job builder factory. Mark this method as a bean. Now we need to create the controller. As I mentioned earlier, this is the manual job. So for executing job, request will come from the front end, and will start a background job. To make it simple, controller name is a batch controller. So careful, this configuration is very important. The name itself explains the purpose of job launcher and the job object. So here I am adding only one parameter, so same way you can add multiple also. Just to make sure that name should be same, here is only one. If multiple, then name matters. Let's run and see it's working or not. Actually, in the last video, we implemented job scheduler for every 5 and 10 seconds, so it's creating lot of logs. So comment those lines so can see Spring Batch execution is happening or not. Now let's check. As you know, job name could be anything because we make it as a path variable. So after batch, whatever text it is, it will execute Spring Batch job. Oops, it's giving no mapping available, means some error is coming not only for new even old also not working. Let's first fix that. Actually, one properly got changed, maybe Spring released something, let's change. Let's check again. Start with user list. Okay, list is coming. Now let's change user with batch and after that add any tag. See, it's working. Job executed. Let's execute again. Oops, exception is coming. Let's see what is it. Let's fix it. It seems you can execute job multiple times. So let's add one more parameter for timestamp. That's it. Let's check again. See, now it's working. So like that, you can add as many as parameters. Let's change job name. Here is only one job so it won't create any problem, but if multiple then think twice before changing any name. See, it's working. Let's add some database-related call. So now let's see when I call this job, the user list is coming or not. See, it's calling user list related stuff. Same way you can add any database related call. Let's print some basic stuff. See, job name is coming. Let's add some sleep time because in real-time environment execution will take a lot of time. As you can see, it works as a background process. Just for a safe side, you can add qualifier with the job name because sometimes it gives the exception. Let's review whatever code we added. The best place to learn about all that goes through the Spring documentation, like see what is tasklet and what is the use of execute method. So tasklet, strategy for processing in a step, execute method, given the current context in the form of a step contribution. Do whatever is necessary to process this unit inside the transaction. Implementations return repeat status if finished, if not then return continuable on failure throws an exception. Let's see what is step contribution and chunk context. Step contribution represents a contribution to a step execution, buffering changes until they can be applied at a chunk boundary. Chunk context. Context object for weekly type data stored for the duration of a chunk, usually a group of items processed together in a transaction. If there is a rollback and the chunk is retried, the same context will be associated with it. Auto are capable bean factory. An extension of the bean factory interface, capable of auto-hiring, provided that they want to expose this functionality for existing bean instances. Job Builder Factory, the convenient factory for a job builder which sets the job repository automatically. Step Builder Factory, the convenient factory for a step builder which sets the job repository and platform transaction manager automatically. Job parameters, value object representing runtime parameters to a batch job, because those parameters have no individual meaning. Outside of the job parameters they are contained within, it is a value object rather than an entity. It is also extremely important that a parameters object can be reliably compared to another for equality, in order to determine if one job parameters object equals another. Furthermore, because these parameters will need to be persisted, it is vital that the types added are restricted. Let's commit code to GitHub, whatever we added. See, it's done. Changes are available. In this video we will see how to implement basic authentication using Spring Security in Spring Boot. As you know that Spring Boot follows the naming convention, so let's copy one of the dependency and change artifacted from batch to security. See, it starts downloading Spring Security related dependencies. Let's run and see. Just after adding Spring Security dependency, is there any change happen? Oops, forget to comment job scheduler cron and other annotations. Let's run again. As you can see, some security-related log like using default security username and password. Let's an open application. See, it is asking for authentication, so just add a Spring Security dependency and it enable basic authentication with default username password. So here username is user and let's copy password from the log. If you don't have much time and you want to secure your REST services, then this is the best way. See, everything is working fine. Now let's change this default behavior, so instead of default username password, let's keep customized username password. Let's create the class under config package. Just to make it simple, class name is Spring Security Configuration. So this class extends Web Security Configure Adapter. Mark this class as a configuration. Need to override configure method. Whatever code we are writing, it's self-explanable. We will keep username, password and application properties file. So when you log in, so this time username password will pick from the properties file. So how simple it is. Let's run and see it is working or not. See, it's working. Let's see one more way to secure REST services with the use of default username password. So let's comment username and password from the properties file, and create the new class called Authentication Entry Point. This class extends basic authentication entry point. Override commence method, and in this method, we will going to change some of the response properties. Let's override one more method called AfterPropertiesSet. So this code helps when you try to enter wrong credentials, so instead of nothing give a proper message. Let's comment configure method add authentication code using the entry point. Let's create one more method called configure global, and this method helps to check in-memory authentication. So here, like that, you can create multiple combinations for username, password and role. If you want to secure REST services based on role also. Let's enable web security for this class. Let's run and see it's working fine or not. Oops, error. Let's fix. Actually, we forget to mark authentication entry point as a component. Let's run again. See it's working. Let's review whatever we added. In this video, we saw 3 ways to authenticate our REST services. First, using default username and password. Second, using read username and password from the properties file. Third, using little more smart ways so you can secure REST services based on role also. Let's commit code to GitHub, whatever we added. See it's done. Changes are available. In this video we will see how to implement an advanced level of authentication using Spring Security in Spring Boot. So if you have not watched our previous video, then please watch it, because in last video we have seen the basic level of authentication means we secured our REST services using static username password. In this video, we will secure our REST services with the help of database using actual username password. So it's a 100% secure way, and this all will be possible because of one service class provided by Spring Security. Let's implement. Before the start anything, let's run and see everything is working fine or not. Yes, you can see it is asking for username password. It is happening because we added in-memory authentication logic in the last video. See it's working fine. Let's create one more model called role. Along with that, let's create one-to-many and many-to-one relationship in between user and role, so one role can assign to multiple users. Let's run and see the table is creating or not for the model called role. As you can see, table created. Let's add some data in role table, like for this time 2 types of the role such as user and admin. You can add any number of roles. The same way we need to assign role in for the user also. Let's comment configure global method and override again configure method. This time, instead of in-memory authentication, we will authenticate using user details service. So for that, we need to create one more class called myUserDetailsService. Mark this class as a service. As you see, still error is there in the configuration class. To remove this, let's implement the user details service interface in my user details service class, which we created. Let's override required methods. See now, error gone. As you can see, override method will return user details object. Let's create a simple flow to find user object from the username. We will declare the simple method in user repository interface and annotate this method as query. And write the simple HQL query. It's very simple. If the user is not available, then we will throw username not found the exception. and we will return Spring Security user object. And for authority, we will create a separate method and add required authorities. Authorities are nothing but the role-based authentication. It's done. Let's see it's working or not. Now it must be authenticated user from database password. It's happening because of cache. Let's restart the browser. See, it's asking for username password. See, it's working. Let's try to enter the wrong password. See, it is not allowing to log in and return back to login pop-up. Let's open REST client and test this functionality. See, if you don't enter any username password, it's giving error message. Here you can set basic authentication. Let's set and see after that it works or not. See, it's working fine. Let's set some wrong authentication and see it's giving any error message or not. As you can see, this message we set for entry point class. Let's add some role-based access for some of the services, like the list can open everyone, but add update delete only done by admin. Let's change username so it's easy to identify what and all admin can access and what another user can access. Let's see role-based access and restrict is working or not. See, it's working. The list is coming. Let's log in as a normal user, and the normal user does not have authority to delete and add. Let's see it's working or not. Oops, deleted successfully. I think we missed something. Let's add again directly to database. So for restrict we need to enable one annotation, then only it will work. Annotation name called enable global method security and pass pre-post enable true. Let's see it will work or not. See, this time it's not giving the delete success message, it's saying no mapping available because we added inside error controller, so that will take care. See, not allowing to delete, the reason is login person role is user and delete authority only admin have. You can customize this as per your requirement. Let's review whatever we added. Best way to explore what is happening when I am calling any built-in method, then go to their documentation. User Details Service Core Interface, which loads user-specific data. It is used throughout the framework as a user DAO and is the strategy used by the DAO authentication provider. This interface requires only one read-only method, which simplifies support for new data access strategy. User Models Core User Information retrieved by User Details Service. Developers may use this class directly, subclass it and write their own implementation. Equals and hash I code implementation based on the property username only, as the intention is that lookups of the same user principal object will match where the object represents the same user, not just when all the properties. Note that this implementation is not immutable. It implements the credentials container interface in order to allow the password to be erased after authentication. This may cause side effects if you are storing instances in memory and reusing them. If so, make sure you can return a copy from your user details service each time it is invoked. So with the help of pre-authorizing, you can secure your services based on role. Let's commit code to GitHub, whatever we added. See, it's done. Changes are available. I hope you like this video. Then please subscribe our channel.